not having the confidence to smile. So let's do this. I have offices in Chicago and Hinsdale. Weller Dental. Google it. Or just go to wellerdental.com. We can do it. Let's get that smile back.
No judgment. Just a friend that wants to help you feel better about yourself. Weller Dental. wellerdental.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I feel more energy. I remember that I would only mow the lawn, like the front one day and the back the next day, because I was too tired. Now I mow the front and the back, and I recover quickly. I recover more quickly than I ever had before.
I used to be like really tired and I relied more on coffee. Now I very rarely drink coffee. I'm not sleepy like I used to be, and then when I would drink the coffee, I would have like that afternoon crash. I don't have that need for a nap in the middle of the day when I take my Balance of Nature.
Get a wide variety of all your daily recommended servings of whole fruits and vegetables without having to leave your home. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
Life is a marathon, not a sprint, unless you're hiring. Fortunately, Indeed has great tools that help speed up the hiring process. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
7:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time and Jim.
We are seeing congestion now on northbound Lakeshore Drive from 18th Drive to Roosevelt. It's 13 minutes to get from Marquette to Monroe, southbound 12. On the north side, Hollywood to Monroe, it's a 10-minute cruise. Inbound Kennedy, delays from O'Hare to Nagel and Fullerton most of the way into the Burns Circle. It's 35 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. 17 from Montrose, 11 on the Express, outbound 31 minutes downtown to the airport. The Eisenhower's 50 minutes, 390 to downtown, outbound 27. Northbound I-55 is heavy, 126 to Veterans Parkway after a crash. And the Stevenson is 37 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan 19 minutes from 95th Street to downtown Chicago. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Jim, thank you. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, sunny and 57 today. Partly cloudy, 32 overnight. 33 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Amy, this next topic, at least in part, is in your wheelhouse.
Oh, what's that? Is it about girls volleyball, boys volleyball, basketball?
It's about Greek life on college campuses.
Yeah.
See, I was a GDI, gosh darn independent.
Of course you were.
No fraternity would have me, and back in the day that I attended college, you couldn't easily identify as a woman and try and rush a sorority, or pledge a sorority. What do you call it?
They tried to do that. You remember a few years ago at Northwestern, that guy? And thank goodness not one sorority accepted him.
Yeah, you can barely tell the difference at Northwestern. And, so I didn't get to go to the sock hops and the square dancing. And
it's called formals.
The formals with the Glenn Miller Band or whatever it was back then, whatever you kids were doing. No one would have
Duo, me. Pike thing. Yeah, I can go on and on about the parties.
Right. So you being, preeminent figure on the campus of the University of Iowa in the Greek system.
Yes, I was sweetheart of Sigma Chi too, besides being a Kappa Kappa Gamma. But go on, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, your resume. I mean, it just rolls
It is on my resume.
It's
on my Wikipedia, and I don't know who put it on there, but it makes me laugh.
So you'll be interested to know that the Greek systems are under assault on college campuses, and our next guest did a bit of a survey or wrote a piece about some survey work that was done to assess how members of fraternities and sororities feel they're received on college campuses. It's somewhat instructive, in the same way that freedom of association is essentially the issue here, in the same way that freedom of speech is a hot topic on college campuses, because there is so little of it. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Nathan Harden. He's the editor of The College Fix and a columnist for the International Business Times. He's also the author of Sex and God at Yale. William F. Buckley rolling over in his grave, I'm sure, at that title. Nathan Harden, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey there, guy. Glad to be on the program.
So tell us about how members of fraternities and sororities view the welcomeness with which they are received on college campuses today.
Well, as you mentioned, the freedom of speech issue is a hot topic on campuses. We all hear a lot about that. But at Real Clear Education, we wanted to take a look at this from a slightly different angle. So we decided to survey fraternity and sorority members. We've got over 4,600 in this survey at 500 colleges and universities. And we wanted to ask them about how free they felt they were to organize as in these voluntary student groups, namely fraternities and sororities. And about half of them indicated that there was some pressure for their fraternity or sorority to be kicked off campus. So we're finding that alongside this kind of free speech issue that we all hear so much about, there's a parallel, and that has to do with students' right to gather in like-minded groups of their choosing.
And sort of what were the survey results?
Well, if you dig a little deeper, we found that this issue of the right of single-sex organizations to exist in the first place is kind of at the heart of this. So, about 9% told us that they felt there was pressure for their fraternity or sorority to become co-ed. So we saw an example of this at Harvard several years ago when they passed a rule which they sort of classified as a non-discrimination policy. And what it did is essentially banned any membership in a single-sex organization, or it penalized you so much that really overnight all the sororities at Harvard ceased to exist. They disbanded. And it took a few years. Harvard eventually had to back off from that policy because the federal lawsuit that the Greek organizations had filed, it became clear that Harvard was going to lose that case. But but in a sense, it still has a chilling effect on kids because you've kind of labeled kids bigots simply if they want to be a part of a fraternity or a sorority.
Well, right, and I found it was interesting. A significant percentage of sorority members and a significant majority of fraternity members said there is pressure to be kicked off campus. There's pressure they feel that they will be kicked off campus. So that may be on the gender issue, could be on a variety of other issues, but basically they feel like it's a pretty hostile place for their fraternity or sorority.
That's correct, and we think that this is really just this part and parcel, as I said, with the whole free speech issue. That about 38% told us that they felt the administration would be more likely to punish them rather than defend them, at only 23%, if they said something offensive on campus. So there's a real sense that the administration doesn't have our back here. And, you look at this from a standpoint of more broadly what's going on in our culture. 67% on the survey told us that they would be uncomfortable expressing an unpopular opinion on social media. And I think that gets to the kind of climate of fear that we've seen develop in recent years. Some people call it, cancel culture or what have you. But just the idea that you might say something stupid, you might say something offensive, and that could follow you for the rest of your life, and that could come to define you.
But it also defines the sorority or the fraternity. So if one member, says something on social media that some people might find, wrong, then the whole fraternity or whole sorority has to pay.
Yeah, exactly. 80% told us that they that there are at least some instances in which the entire organization is punished for the misconduct of one member. So there's a real sort of fairness issue there, and a kind of due process, if you will, that fraternity and sorority members largely feel is not being carried out fairly. 28% said that happens very often, that the whole group would be punished for the misdeeds of one.
Hey,
problem.
You know, it would be interesting. I mean, we talk about this a lot on the show, higher education and what's happening on college campuses, and we try to also provide examples where there are sort of islands of free thinking, in addition to instances where there's pushback against this mobocracy. It'd be really interesting sort of put together a list. These are places that consistently defend free speech and free association, and it's not just because some administrator issues a statement like President Zimmer over at University of Chicago, and it's not really implemented at the professorial level or even the student level, but that it's really a culture on campus of free speech and free thinking. It's the true marketplace of ideas that college campuses are supposed to be. I mean, if I had to run a list, I could maybe name 5 to 10, and then I start to search for colleges to recommend to friends as for their kids and whatnot.
Well, I've got good news for you. We have just such a list.
There you go.
So if you want to go to realcleareducation.com, you can see our college free speech rankings. It's right there on our homepage, and you can also see the results of this survey, the Greek Life report card. So if you want to look specifically at what campuses are Greek Life organizations protected, where do students feel most free to sort of function, you can see that as well. And we hope that parents or students who are looking to apply to college will use this as just another piece of information in your college search. And we hope that college administrators will look at this and see how their institutions stack up, because all of this information is coming directly from students. That's what's so unique about the surveys we've done. We're getting it straight from the source. We're not speculating based on random news reports. We're actually getting student opinions on the ground.
Well, how has COVID affected the Greek life? Because I can't imagine. I know my niece, she's a DG at Mizzou. They're not even allowed in their house. They haven't been all year together.
Yeah, we conducted this survey really at a critical time. This was we did this over the summer last year, so it was sort of right as the spring semester was ending. A lot of students had seen their college semester disrupted. Many had to go home in the middle of the semester. And so one of the interesting facts we pointed out was for those students who were graduating and kind of beginning their job search, what a difficult time to be looking for your first job in this COVID crisis. Things are in flux. Everybody's, locked down in many cases. And we found that students told us these fraternity connections became really important for them. Close to half said that, they were relying on either fellow fraternity sorority members or alumni to help in their job search. I think that goes to show, just how critical this freedom of association issue is and how important these networks are. It's more than just the cliche of Animal House and wild times at college. These are groups that really mean a lot and have a big impact in many cases on students. That's why there's more than 500,000 active fraternity and sorority members in this country today.
I again to try and accentuate the positive, I love this Future View column that the Wall Street Journal runs every week, getting the opinions of college students on topics. And this week it was a book that made the most impact on you in the last semester, or maybe it was the last year. And it's just a handful of kids that are responding, but it's encouraging nonetheless. One said Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Another said Louis Gaddis's On Grand Strategy, which is excellent. Another mentioned Donald Kagan's seminal book on World War I. So, I mean, it's just a reminder that, yes, we overwhelmingly we understand what how oppressive the culture is on college campuses, but that doesn't mean that everybody is just going to sit passively by and be indoctrinated to turn into some BLM activist. There are college students and colleges that are providing real scholarship and students that are engaged in the pursuit of knowledge and reading canons and seminal works. And so maybe there's some hope for future generations coming out of colleges yet.
Absolutely. And I think the majority of professors out there, they really want the university and classroom to be a place where, ideas can be explored and debated openly, but they're also subject to this climate of fear. I mean, we've seen professors have their jobs threatened because they weren't, in sync with, they weren't woke enough, or they weren't part of the
more than threatened.
Yeah, I mean, you can think of Brett Weinstein at Evergreen College. This is a guy who, there was nothing radical about his politics in terms of being very mainstream left of center, but he was, in a sense, caught up in not being woke enough, and he was driven out of the tenured job that he had there. And so there is a climate of fear, not just for students, but also professors.
Nathan Harden, editor of the College Fix, columnist for the International Business Times. He's also the author of the book Sex and God at Yale. And again, RealClearEducation.com's 2020 college free speech rankings. You want to look that up if you're a prospective student or a parent with a prospective student, and we'll tweet that out here at Morning Answer as well. Nathan Harden, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-391-8713. 800-391-8713. That's 800-391-8713.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a scientist and, by all accounts, a health and fitness nut. So I was looking for something that I thought might give me just a little bit more edge. And I've tried many things, and I'm very strict in terms of my diet, my exercise, my lifestyle. I'm pleasantly surprised, I must admit. I typically in the winter times have respiratory issues or colds, and this is the longest period I can remember where I haven't had one. My body is experiencing something that it's never had, and then knowing that the change is because I took Balance of Nature, and it's worth the money. That's all I can say. It's worth the money.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
What do you think is going to happen to our tax rates over the next few years? We all know the answer to that. Congress is going to have to pay for all the